All right, we are live, and I have found something very interesting. Let's go back. Okay, so Jason Yanowitz from Blockworks, yes, from Blockworks, which is a crypto media company. He just posted this. Matt Wang. Matt Wang turning 50K into 500 million will forever live rent free in my head. And what is this? He wrote a check into ByteDance at 20 million and 30 million valuations, marking his largest personal investment at the time. With ByteDance now worth 300 billion, his investment has multiplied roughly 10,000x, turning an illustrative $50,000 into 500 million. He still holds most of his position, and while he's increasingly zen about it, he admits it definitely messes with your head that it's probably the best investment I'll ever make. That same year in San Francisco, he made seed investments in YC companies Instacart, Benchling, PlanGrid, and Amplitude, all now billion-dollar companies. Wow. Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's see. I think Matt Wang also has some writings that would be very interesting to explore. Let's see. Now he is the co-founder of Paradigm. Paradigm is a research-driven crypto investment firm. So let's look into this. First, let's look into some. Oh, so he recently had like a cover story on him. Okay. Never been more bullish about what's ahead for builders in crypto. Thanks, Patrick O'Shaughnessy, backing people pursuing their life's work. Wait, Patrick O'Shaughnessy, he has a podcast, right? Positive Sum, join Colossus. Oh yeah, Colossus. Okay, so home of Invest Like Best. So Patrick O'Shaughnessy is the host of Invest Like Best. Founders Podcast. Whoa, 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 whoa. An ongoing education on the frontiers of business and investing. Okay, Invest Like Best. Business breakdowns. Big one. Big one. Founders Podcast. Learn from history's greatest entrepreneurs every week. I read a biography of an entrepreneur and find ideas you can use in your work. Glue Guys Podcast. Cutting across sports and business to dissect the subtle art of making others better. Wow. Art of Invest. Joys of Compounding. And Colossus Review creates definitive accounts of investors, founders, companies, and the people, ideas that inspire them. Wow. Okay, so Founders Podcast is now under Join Colossus, home of this. Actually, let's quickly look into this. This is really cool. Wow. They got, oh, everybody's talking about Matt Wang. Let's go into it. I've been more bullish about what's ahead for builders in crypto. For years, I've asked Matt Wang to let us feature him and Paradigm. Matt is the steadiest heads in a very high volatile asset class and world. He just said he's more bullish on crypto than any time since 2018. So excited to share a profile with you all on Join Colossus. Best picture from the article. Wow. Okay, is that Fred? I think that's Fred. This is Matt, and that's Fred. Wow. Really cool. Really cool. Matt is special. Wonderful human. Really enjoyed the read. It's great to see influential figures collaborate. Strong partnerships like this can drive innovation and open new doors for everyone involved. Looking forward to what's next. All right. Paradigm shifts inside one of crypto's most trusted institutions with co-founder and managing partner Matt Wang. Matt Wang before this was partner at Sequoia Capital. And he made a did he make a personal investment in ByteDance? So that was outside Sequoia. Sequoia didn't get to did Sequoia Capital invest in ByteDance? Let's see. Sequoia did invest in ByteDance. Sequoia, through its US and China arms, has been a significant investor in ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok. Led a funding round in 2020 alongside KKR and Co., which valued ByteDance at 180 billion. This round aimed to raise $2 billion. Okay, so Sequoia came after Matt to raise 2 billion, highlighting Sequoia's substantial involvement in the company's growth. Sequoia Capital China in particular has been a key player in backing ByteDance, with its founder Neil Shen maintaining a prominent role in its investment strategy. This investment aligns with Sequoia's history of supporting high growth tech companies globally. Okay, let's go back. Let's keep it over here and maybe let's read this. I hope you don't stop us from reading it. All right, paradigm shifts. And what is this photo? A very gloomy photo. Yeah, why did we choose to have this as background? Anyways, sometimes I feel like I'm running the X-Men Academy, describing his $12 billion crypto investment firm Paradigm as a place for brilliant mutants who possess unusual powers. Take Charlie Noyes, the firm's first hire, a 19-year-old MIT dropout who couldn't operate a calendar. He rolled into his first 10 a.m. meeting 5 hours late, completely unapologetic. He's now a general partner. Wow. Or Georgios Konstantopoulos, Paradigm CTO, who transformed from a World of Warcraft addict into one of crypto's most prolific engineers. Or the developer known only by his X handle Transmissions 11. Wow, wow, wow. Right, so Paradigm does have a bunch of these people who just operate based on the pseudonym. They do not have, yeah, they don't like to share too much. 86.1. Wow, to lambda.com. Excellent detailed profile of incomparable Matt Wang. We are very fortunate to work closely with him at Stripe. New York City is the only real city in America. I'm just curious, what is this website? To lambda.com. Wow. Okay, so these are all his works, publication, and talks. Let's go back. Whom Paradigm discovered on a Discord server while the Anon was still in high school. Wow. They create an absurd amount of chaos sometimes, and you want to pull your hair out. But then you see what they can do, and it's like, holy crap, nobody else in the world could do that. On the chilly morning, I visited Paradigm in San Francisco. Two of Wang's team were working on a mechanism that could reshape how hundreds of billions in digital dollars move through the financial system. In a penthouse conference room curved like the whispering gallery of a cathedral, partner Dan Robinson tapped his Paradigm green Nike Air Force Ones on the floor while explaining their latest breakthrough at the speed of a high frequency trade. Research partner Dave White in hexagonal spectacles. Research partner Dave White in hexagonal spectacles and a scraggly beard was hunched over his laptop, pausing occasionally to discuss equations behind the idea he invented. Wang listened intently, his athletic frame still in a plain black Japanese sweater, his manner carrying the quiet authority of someone who's always been ahead of the curve. Everything he touched was good, says Doug Leone, who ran Sequoia during Huang's time there from 2014 to 2018. Wow, everything he touched was good. He's super smart, incredibly humble. It's tough not to meet Matt and come away with the impression that he is super special. Through two large arched windows, high above San Francisco Union Square, traditional finance concrete towers loom to the east while the startup sprawl of Soma spreads south. It's a fitting view for a firm bridging traditional finance and bleeding edge technology. And for Wang, whose career has been defined by spotting revolutionary potential. This is really cool. This is really cool. In the middle of San Francisco, they're in a VC firm. VC firm because they want to work on a bunch of projects, not just one. They want to invest in people. They want to invest in companies. They want to find these kind of really extremely smart people that most people wouldn't hire, bring them in-house and get them to do things and get them to build, work on interesting projects. I'm running the X-Men Academy. Wow. In 2012, while on a week-long vacation to Beijing, he visited a startup operating from 2 apartment units. The founder, Zhang Yiming, wow, ByteDance, was building a personalized news app, an idea Huang thought was destined to fail. But sitting at an old IKEA table near a dusty refrigerator watching gaming speak through a translator, Huang noticed something that transcended language. I remember having this very deep sense that this is an extremely competent I remember having this very deep sense that this is an extremely competent, obsessed, aggressive person who was somehow balanced and wouldn't blow himself up. He had extreme clarity on what he was trying to build and an aggressive take over the world ambition. Yiming was the most impressive person he had ever spent time with, so impressive that Huang had to invest. That company became ByteDance, Creator, TikTok, and Huang's share of it has turned into a nine-figure sum. He doesn't keep spreadsheets, so he can tell you exactly. Wow, wow. Okay, we gotta post this thing. This is crazy. This is really good. This is really good. Okay, how do we highlight? How do we highlight this thing? Highlighter. Yellow. No. Bad. How do we go back? How do we go back? Eraser, eraser, eraser. I'm messing it up. Oh, where's the eraser? I cannot find it. Don't save. Copy. And what just happened? Okay. Okay, that's gone. We'll post over here, and that's done. Perfect. This is amazing. In 2012, while on a week-long vacation to Beijing, he visited a startup operating from two apartment units. The founder, Zhang Yiming, was building a personalized news app. I remember having this very deep sense that this is an extremely competent, obsessed, aggressive person who was somehow balanced and wouldn't blow himself up. He had extreme clarity on what he was trying to build, an aggressive, take over the world ambition. Yiming was the most impressive person he had ever spent time with, so impressive that Huang had to invest. The company became ByteDance, Creator, TikTok, and Huang's share of it has turned into a 9 or 10 figure sum. He doesn't keep spreadsheets, so he can tell you exactly. That instinct for spotting talent is central to Paradigm, which began in 2018 when Coinbase co-founder Fred Ersam approached Huang at Sequoia Capital with a vision for a different kind of investment company. They started as equal partners, but Ersam has since stepped back to split his time between crypto and his new brain computer interface startup, recognizing that Huang was, in his words, born and bred to run Paradigm. The son of one of the world's most accomplished financial theorists and a pioneering computer science professor. Whoa, 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 whoa. The son of one of the world's most accomplished financial theorists and a pioneering computer science professor. Huang grew up at the nexus of math, economics, and technology. In 6 years, his firm has grown from managing 400 million to over 12 billion by making early concentrated bets on foundational crypto projects while also building significant parts of crypto's core infrastructure. Grew up at the nexus of math, economics, and technology. In 6 years, his firm has grown from managing 400 million to over $12 billion by making early concentrated bets on foundational crypto projects while also building significant parts of crypto's core infrastructure. Paradigm's researchers who double as investors develop foundational innovations that open source them for the entire industry to use. It's an unusual approach for a financial firm, but Paradigm isn't a typical investment company. It's more like a research lab crossed with an engineering outfit. wrapped in the sophistication of a West Coast Wall Street. Hmm. Research lab crossed with an engineering outfit, wrapped in the sophistication of a West Coast Wall Street. Doug Leone. He's super smart and incredibly humble. It's tough not to meet Matt and come away with the impression that he is super special. Back in the penthouse conference room, Robinson and White are working on Bullseye Liquidity, a breakthrough that could transform how stablecoins, digital tokens pegged to the US dollars, are traded. Become a crucial part of crypto's financial plumbing, yet the infrastructure for trading them remains primitive. Hmm. With each pair requiring its own pool of capital, the renovation would unite these fragmented markets in a single efficient system, though it could give Paradigm's portfolio companies like Uniswap and Novel a significant edge. They plan to publish the research openly on their blog. If someone else implemented this and it made things better for crypto overall, you would be fine with that. Wow. Wow. Research lab, what did it say? Research lab crossed with an engineering outfit, wrapped in the sophistication of West Coast Wall Street. But it is a research lab slash investment firm. Wow. Wow. Really cool. Hmm. Research lab plus investment firm. Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay. Hmm. White pauses his work with OpenAI's O1 Pro, where he's verifying mathematical proofs to refine a point about n-dimensional space. On the screen, Robinson projects a visualization of the math that looks like a quarter slice of Captain America's shield. Huang mostly listens. He always prefers to listen, but when he does speak, it's clear he's fully absorbed the complexity of what they are presenting. Wow. Really cool, really cool. He always prefers to listen, but when he does speak, it's clear he's fully absorbed the complexity of what they are presenting. Years ago, when they were kids, Robinson recalls the friend group would debate endlessly until Matt spoke. He didn't say much, but we always ended up doing what he suggested. Those who know Huang best describe someone whose quiet demeanor masks extraordinary capabilities. The insight per minute with Matt is very high, even if there are many minutes where he says nothing. Observes Stripe co founder Patrick Collison, who added Huang to his board in 21. His attention to detail extends to everything he touches, from the speed of Paradigm's website to the obscure Japanese streetwear he favors to the people he hires. He has a high bar for excellence, says Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. There's no tolerance for mediocrity. Yet beneath his intensity lies a disarming humility. As Leon puts it, he has a good sense of humor, but it's hidden because there's so much goodness in the man that you can't help but put your serious game on. Perhaps most telling is that these insights come from others. Wang is the type of person whose greatest achievements are whispered about rather than trumpeted, whose impact is felt more than advertised. Collison adds, not every great investor or great leader is a great person. In all the integrity checks of could this person be a godfather to your kid, he passes empathetically with flying colors. Wow, 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 wow. This is crazy. You go from just getting an investor, you just go from getting a nice good investor on your board to thinking about would I want him to be the godfather of my kids. That is crazy. You put so much trust on them. Wow. Not every great investor or great leader is a great person. All the integrity checks of could this person be a godfather to your kid, he passes empathetically with flying colors. Paradigm isn't a typical investment company. It's more like a research lab crossed with an engineering outfit wrapped in the sophistication of a West Coast Wall Street. Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting. That is true. Like once you start doing business and you start having business partners, they become friends. There's something I was talking to one of my friends last night that he was talking about how he has two younger brothers, but there is no way for but he doesn't have touch points with them. He wants to talk more to them, but what is what he still does not talk to them. And I'm like, yeah, I feel this is where you need to just build, you need to have some sort of work, you need to have some sort of business which you both are excited about, either they are excited about or just you are excited about. But you, what you care about is the progress, that that person is improving, you are improving, and either you care about what they're doing or you just care about the fact that this person, like, if a person is passionate about something, that rubs off on you, and you either want just that energy, there's just that passion that to rub off on you, or you really care about the topic that they're talking about. And even with our siblings, we want something like that. Like my little sister, my little cousin, for us it's art. She's into art, I'm into art, and that's the touch point. With my little brother, it's about health. He likes to do activities, he likes to strain himself, train himself, like I'm talking more in Whoop terms. I got him a Whoop to wear, and now that's a touch point for us. I'm into health, he's into health, and that's our touch point now that we talk about that. And with my sister, it's all about work and salary. Like, how do we do more high impact work so we can increase our salary? How can we make more money? And this is so cool. This is really cool. Like, it's every when you start bringing in business, so that's like learning from your work, right? Like when you start doing businesses, you are constantly surrounded. If you really like your work, you're spending most of your time, instead of your friends, you're spending most of your time around your business partners, and they end up becoming your friend because there is a strong touch point for you guys to keep coming together and keep working. So you rather be friends because you are supposed to be working together all the time. And similarly with family, I want to bring that, and that's the same case with my dad. My dad has now started sharing his progress about his work with me. And now that is a great touch point because he doesn't share that with everybody. I'm guessing so. But I can provide him more, let's say, a trustworthy, from like, because we are family, he could trust me more and share more things that he wouldn't usually share with other people. Very interesting. Okay. Paradigm isn't a typical investment company. It's more like a research lab crossed with an engineering outfit wrapped in the sophistication of a West Coast Wall Street. This combination of technical excellence and quiet integrity has helped establish Paradigm as one of crypto's most important institutions. In an industry that's grown from 0 to 3 trillion through waves of speculation and collapse, the firm's open source tools now power 90% of smart contract development. Its innovations help hundreds of billions in digital dollars move more efficiently. And similar with my buddy, we both, my best friend, what we really care about is number one, work could be a thing. We don't usually talk about work. He doesn't talk much about his work. I talk about my work a lot more. But our common thing is very much around stocks and politics because that affects a lot. And we both came to Canada. We both had to, like, initial struggle days, and now slowly moving towards building income and building investment. And that's a common touch point. We talk about that, like, hey, how, what do we invest in? How do we make sure we have cash? How do we make sure we invest in this, in crypto? How do we diversify? How do we think about S&P 500, stuff like that? Okay. This combination of technical excellence and quiet integrity has helped establish Paradigm as one of the crypto's most important institutions. An industry that's grown from 0 to 3 trillion through waves of speculation and collapse, the firm's open source tools now power 90%, wow, of smart contract development. Its innovations help hundreds of billions in digital dollars move more efficiently, and its investments have earned the trust of world's most sophisticated investors, including Harvard, Stanford, Sequoia, and Yale. This combination of technical excellence and quiet integrity has helped establish Paradigm as one of crypto's most important institutions. In an industry that's grown from 0 to 3 trillion through waves of speculation and collapse, the firm's open source tools now power 90% of smart contract development. Its innovations help hundreds of billions in digital dollars move more efficiently, and its investments have earned the trust of world's most sophisticated investors. Waking up, one of Matt Huang's earliest memories places him alone on the streets of Tokyo, a 9-year-old navigating the world's largest city. Each morning, he would thread his way through narrow side streets and across bustling thoroughfares on an hour long trip to the school. This early independence shaped his worldview. Once you have an n equals 2, he said of comparing Tokyo to New York, that changes how you relate to everything. The family had moved to Japan in 97 when his father, Shifu Huang, was tasked with establishing the Asia office of long-term capital management. Whoa, long-term capital management. Is that Eric Ries thing? Before that is long-term stock market. LTSM. This is capital management. Okay. Before the move, the elder Huang had run LTCM's Asian trading operation from Greenwich, working 4 p.m. to 3 a.m. to match market hours. The only son among four sisters in Taiwan, Shifu's parents had invested their modest savings to send him to America alone. From there, he worked his way to an economics professorship at MIT, then to Goldman Sachs, where he built and led fixed income derivatives research, and finally to LTCM, a firm staffed with. Whoa, we're talking about Shifu, right? We're talking about his dad. Yeah. The only son among four sisters in Taiwan. The only son among four sisters in Taiwan, Shifu's parents had invested their modest savings to send him to America alone. From there, he worked his way to an economics professorship at MIT, then to Goldman Sachs, where he built and led fixed income derivatives research, and finally to LTCM, a firm staffed with Nobel laureates that represented the perfect fusion of academic theory and market practice. Wow. Academic theory and market practice. Wang's mother, Marina Chen, had carved her own path in academia after immigrating from Taiwan. At Caltech, she pioneered parallel computing research under legendary technologist Carver Mead, developing techniques still used in modern processors. Despite her position as one of Yale's first female computer science professors, wow, seemingly destined for a distinguished academic career, Chen chose to leave academia to raise their three boys, channeling her intellectual intensity into their education. Developing techniques still used in modern processors, despite her position as one of Yale's first female computer science professors, seemingly destined for a distinguished. This is so crazy. Okay, so something I'm thinking about right now is that, okay, totally controversial. I have no idea what I'm talking about, disclaimer. But what I'm thinking about right now is that super smart person, Marina Chen, and think about it just like how a manager, how a CEO in a company thinks that at first you are doing everything by yourself. Then slowly you move to a manager role, an executive director, VP role, CEO role, and now you are kind of laying out the vision. You are training the right people, putting the right people in the right places, training them, and then they do the work, and that's how you're scaling your efforts. And similarly, if women think about kids, when you stop your career and when you stop your career to raise your kids and you channel your intellectual intensity into their education, what is now happening is that instead of thinking that, oh, what could I have done if I would be still in business, or if I would be still in at work or doing my job, and what I could have achieved, now you are now you are channeling all your intellectual intensity into your kids, one, two, three, and now you are scaling yourself. Now you're building an empire because you are training your kids, you're bringing your kids at the same level where you are today, which means they are getting a massive jump. They're getting a massive head start when they get into their career. Like by the time they are 10, 11, 12, you are directing them towards making the right decisions. And that's how they can start moving forward way faster now. Wow. And then you can be the person who's like managing the vision, and these kids are basically those now early employees, those junior employees who are now doing their own things, who are now like putting their individual efforts. They're the IC individual contributors. They are contributing at the individual level, and then slowly they become managers. And that's how society should work, right? You should start by an IC and slowly you move upwards. And for women, that's the role that they play in a family, where they start by being an amazing intellectual individual contributor. They move up to the manager role, not in a company, but for the family. They start channeling all their intellectual intensity into the education of the kids, and now that's how you're building an empire. You're building a massive empire. Wow. Wow. I'm curious, like, what about the brothers of Matt Huang? What are they doing now? First female computer science professor seemingly destined for a distinguished academic career, Chen chose to leave academia to raise the three boys, channeling her intellectual intensity into their education. Dinner at the Huang household ran like an investment committee. Each evening, the boys would hear the garage door opening and scramble to complete their father's assigned readings, carefully selected, age adjusted articles ranging from economic principles to scientific American. At dinner, they were expected to field questions about their allocated topics. Each brother developed different coping mechanisms to their parents' intensity. According to Matt, the eldest, his instinct was to push back. The Tokyo chapter ended abruptly in '98 when LTCM's models failed during the Russian financial crisis. The collapse wiped out Huang family savings. Yet Chief of Huang emerged from the wreckage to found Platinum Grove Asset Management '99 with his LTCM colleague Nobel Prize winner Myron Scholes. The firm grew from 45 million to 6 billion. Oh wow, they have a history of going from few millions to billions of dollars in asset value in less than 9 years, becoming one of the world's largest fixed income hedge funds, leading into the 2008 financial crisis. This pattern, seeing opportunity in chaos, building something new from system wide collapse, would become familiar to his son. This pattern, seeing opportunity in chaos, building something new from system wide collapse, would become familiar to his son. The New York suburb of Scarsdale became Huang's fourth home in 11 years after Tokyo. As one of only three Asian students in his predominantly Jewish school, these constant relocations and cultural adaptations honed his ability to read social dynamics and connect with diverse personalities. In class, Huang couldn't sit still. His restlessness led to expulsion from Chinese weekend school after repeatedly disrupting other students. Uncontrollable, his parents would later describe him at his wedding. Yet, when engaged on his own terms, he displayed an ability to focus. With his uncool but academically inclined circle of friends, Huang directed amateur films, debated libertarian philosophy, and mastered games. Directed amateur films, debated libertarian philosophy, and mastered games. His approach to StarCraft, competing semi professionally on international servers, foreshadowed the attention to detail that would become his signature, extending even to his current obsession in handstands. Whoa. And I'm guessing he taught Fred to do handstand. Yiming spoke through a translator, but Huang found himself captivated by the founder's non-verbal cues, his gestures, expressions, and intensity, painting a picture he didn't need words to understand. Everything changed when he discovered mathematics. The math club revealed a natural affinity for the subject, and while he wasn't a top competitor in national contests, it showed his parents their uncontrollable son could excel at school when appropriately challenged. Poker and chess became other outlets for his analytical mind. The reformed student worked his way to MIT, where in 2006 he found himself among one of the highest concentrations of strange people on the planet. Whoa. The reformed student worked his way to MIT, where his dad went to. His dad became economics professor at MIT, where in 2006 he found himself among one of the highest concentrations of strange people on the planet. He studied mathematics and at one point took a semester off to play online poker, working 8 tables simultaneously. But the defining moment besides meeting his future wife came when a close friend, Albert Nee, announced he was dropping out to join a small startup called Dropbox as its sixth employee. For someone raised to become a PhD, dropping out of a BSc seemed unthinkable, yet Nee wasn't failing. He was one of the most capable people Huang knew, making a deliberate choice to build something new. It led him to read all of Paul Graham's essays, through which Huang discovered Silicon Valley and the temptation of ultimate rebellion, forging his own path. With his roommates, Huang applied to Y Combinator in his final year of MIT. Initially facing rejection, Graham told them, We love you guys. We couldn't hate your idea more. 6 months later, with a prototype, they got in. The MIT graduates drove cross country to San Francisco in 6 days. At YC, they built what Wang now calls a terrible idea, a TV guide website for the streaming era called Hotspots. This failed startup chapter that lasted 2 years nonetheless gave him deep empathy for founders and led to an acquisition by Twitter, where he observed a terribly run company during its pre IPO period. By 2012, Huang was ready to carve a new path. In his mind, Silicon Valley had become too obvious, the consumer space too predictable for interesting work and compelling returns. During a week long vacation from Twitter, with thoughts of founding a tech company in China, he visited Beijing to meet six founders. One was Zhang Yiming, who was building what seemed like another doomed consumer app. Yiming spoke through a translator, but Huang found himself captivated by the founder's nonverbal cues. Painting a picture he didn't need words to understand, Huang left the apartment thinking, I've got to figure out some way to back this person. He wrote a check into ByteDance at 20 million and 30 million valuations, marking his largest personal investment at the time. With ByteDance now worth 300 billion, his investment has multiplied roughly 10,000x, turning an illustrative 50,000 into 500 million. He still holds most of his position, and while he's increasingly zen about it, he admits it definitely messes with your head that it's probably the best investment I'll ever make. That same year in San Francisco, he made seed investments in YC companies, Instacart, Benchling, PlanGrid, and Amplitude, all now billion-dollar companies. In 2014, when a Sequoia recruiter's email appeared in his inbox while at Twitter, Wang initially dismissed it as spam. Despite his impressive track record, he had no intention of becoming an investor. But curiosity prevailed, and his interview assignment, a one-pager on a company Sequoia should invest in, led him to write about Coinbase, then just 7 employees. At Sequoia, Huang found what he calls the highest standards place I've ever experienced. When Facebook acquired WhatsApp for 19 billion on his second day, partners gathered briefly in the lobby. Champagne was poured but left untouched. Within 5 minutes, everyone had returned to work. 11-figure exits. Wow. Within 5 minutes, everyone had returned to work. 11-figure exits faded into the shadows of the firm's legendary portfolio that includes trillion-dollar businesses like Apple, Google, and Nvidia. The culture demanded excellence in ways that elevated his already considerable ambition. Within 5 minutes, everyone had returned to work. 11-figure exits faded into the shadows of the firm's legendary portfolio that includes trillion-dollar businesses like Apple, Google, and Nvidia. Wow. You start to see how far the axes extend, what a great founder looks like. Wang says of his 4 years there, without being exposed to that, your whole perception of what's possible is missing the dynamic range of the top end. Sequoia also showed him that excellence takes many forms. Working alongside investors with widely different styles but consistency in key dimensions gave him confidence to develop his own approach. The realization that I can do it my own way was very liberating. Sequoia, for its part, got something valuable in return. Sequoia US was getting its ass kicked by Sequoia China in their poker tournament every year. Leone remembers. And he went and he won it for Sequoia US. We brought back the Don Valentine crazy colored jacket. Thanks to Matt Huang. You won't hear the story from Huang, who never boasts about his achievements. Like many things about him, you have to learn from others or know exactly what to ask. Leaving home. Huang first encountered Bitcoin in 2010 while at MIT, immediately drawn to its elegant fusion of mathematics, economics, computer science, and game theory. I internalized it as just a really beautiful idea. But in those early days, it seemed more of an intellectual curiosity than an investment opportunity. It wasn't until 2012 when he bought some Bitcoin in Mt. Gox, oh shit, the dominant exchange at the time, and rode his first major bubble. You almost need to lose money the first time. Then you kind of give up on it, write it off as dead, and when you see it come back and it's not dead, then you start to wonder. Then you kind of give up on it, write it off as dead, And when you see it come back and it's not dead, then you start to wonder. Multiple sources reported that legendary investor Michael Moritz called Huang the only regrettable loss in Sequoia's history. He was the first person in my career that had left Sequoia under his own volition. Whoa. Volition meaning. Wow. 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 Legendary investor Michael Moritz called Huang the only regrettable loss in Sequoia's history. He was the first person in my career that had left Sequoia under his own volition. Wow. Wow. At Sequoia, Huang found few colleagues who shared his growing conviction about crypto's importance. The firm was supportive of his interest. He led several crypto investments on its behalf, but he increasingly sought conversation partners outside its walls. He began attending monthly dinners in San Francisco with 6 to 8 other crypto curious investors exploring ideas at the frontier of the emerging technology. It was during this period in 2017 that Fred, who had recently stepped down as president of Coinbase, wrote a blog post arguing that crypto was the metaverse. Reach out to discuss the idea. I know I'm not going to build a company around this, but it would be hilarious to pitch Sequoia on the idea for fun. What began as an intellectual exercise evolved into a 40 email thread between the two, diving deep into crypto's possibilities. Their backgrounds were perfectly complementary. Ursum had co-founded and operated crypto's most important company, while Huang brought elite investing experience. Nothing felt quite right until I met Matt, who had explored starting a crypto focused fund with several other potential partners. Over 6 months, they methodically explored working together, testing alignment on everything from investment philosophy to fund structure. They were particularly focused on ensuring true partnership, everything would be split 50-50, a principle that drove some people nuts but felt essential to both of them. Leaving Sequoia was wrenching for Huang. It was the first place where he truly felt he belonged. It felt like somewhere I could retire from if they would have me. The only regrettable loss in Sequoia's history. He was the first person in my career that had left Sequoia under his own volition. But Huang had become convinced that crypto would be one of the most important technological trends of the coming decades. When he told me he thought it was the opportunity of a lifetime, it was very easy. Follow your dreams, go after it, with a tinge of regret. When he told me he thought it was the opportunity of a lifetime, it was very easy. Follow your dreams, go after it. Wow. When he told me he thought it was the opportunity of a lifetime, it was very easy. Follow your dreams, go after it. I'm very mad at myself because he had been talking about Bitcoin and I usually have a good sniffer. If I were really smart, I would have followed that and created an opportunity for him to do the fund within Sequoia. Wow. I was very mad at myself because he had been talking about Bitcoin and I usually have a good sniffer. If I were really smart, I would have followed that and created an opportunity for him to do that fund within Sequoia, inverting the status quo. Wang and Ursum founded Paradigm in June 2018 with two theses. First, that crypto would be one of the most important technical and economic shifts of the coming decades, and second, that the space lacked the kind of investor they themselves would have wanted as entrepreneurs, one that was deeply crypto native. Graham Duncan, wow, okay, lacked the kind of investor they themselves would have wanted as entrepreneurs, one that was deeply crypto native. Deeply crypto native. Wow. Graham Duncan, founder of East Rock Capital and advisor to Paradigm, whom Huang credits as the most helpful person to the firm in its early days, was struck by their conviction from the outset. They were consistently planning for what could happen from a size perspective in a way that seemed almost absurd to me. It blew my mind, but it was not cockiness at all. Their time horizon was just so different, and what they planned for ended up happening. They raised their first fund in late 2018, securing 400 million from elite institutions including Harvard, Stanford, and Yale, the university's first significant crypto investments, as well as Sequoia. The fund structure was novel, open-ended with no fixed timeline for returning capital, allowing them to hold both public crypto assets and private investments. Hmm. Then they made an even bolder move. Rather than calling capital gradually like most venture firms, they quickly asked for the full 400 million and began averaging into Bitcoin and Ethereum, with those positions comprising about 90% of the fund to begin with. The average purchase price of Bitcoin was around $4,000 to $5,000 a coin, a massive bet that the crypto winter, which had sent Bitcoin down 70%, would eventually thaw. This is crazy. This is crazy. So much conviction. $400 million full, straight up, invest 90% into Bitcoin and Ethereum during the crypto winter. Their first three hires embodied different aspects of their vision. Charlie Noyes, whom Huang met in a Telegram chat discussing Bitcoin Cash forks, became their first employee. From his messages, I thought he was a 40-year-old with a beard, very cynical and craggy. When he showed up to the dinner, I was really surprised he was 19. Noyes had been immersed in crypto from age 12 when he discovered Bitcoin through gaming circles. He had already published research papers on crypto applications and won Intel Science competition twice before dropping out of school to attend MIT and then dropping out of there to join Paradigm. His initial adjustment to office life was rocky. He thought opining on pitch decks over email opi- opining on pitch decks over email and coming to the office once a week was normal. When he showed up later on his first day, Wang sat him down to explain professional expectations. The patience paid off. Today, Noyes is 25 and already one of Paradigm's general partners. Huang likens him to an artist capable of making large intuitive leaps by condensing vast amounts of disparate information and coming out the other side with a crystal clear investment thesis. Condensing vast amounts of disparate information coming out the other side with a crystal clear investment thesis, like when he identified MEV as a pivotal blockchain issue in 2020 and became the lead investor in Flashbots, whose infrastructure now touches nearly every transaction on Ethereum and has established critical market rules for the four. Wow, 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 wow. Charles Noyes paradigm. The Ivy League institution is said to have invested in major crypto funds led by Fred, Matt, and Charles, who previously worked at Pantera Capital. It seems like Charles is not. Is Charles on Twitter? He might be, but with a different pseudonym. Okay. Whose infrastructure now touches nearly every transaction on Ethereum and has established critical market rules for the 450 billion ecosystem. Huang and Palmedo. Huang and Palmedo. Dan Robinson, Huang's middle school friend and the smartest person I knew growing up, embodied the technical depth needed to advance crypto's frontier. After Harvard Law School left him disillusioned, Robinson switched to programming and explored crypto while working at Stellar, a blockchain company. Huang and Ersum crafted a unique role split between investing research and helping portfolio companies build. What began as a compromise became the template for Paradigm's research-driven approach, with Robinson going on to invent key mechanisms for Uniswap, crypto's leading decentralized exchange. She's been Matt and Fred's third partner totally building the firm. Alana Palmedo joining 4 weeks into Paradigm's existence when it still rented office space by the week, brought the institutional rigor needed to bridge crypto and traditional finance. Though not deeply into crypto, her experience managing complex operations at Boston University's endowment and Bill Gates' investment office during the 2008 financial crisis proved invaluable. Initially skeptical, she was won over by Huang and Ersum's thoughtful approach to building an institutional grade firm and her value investors' intuition that with Bitcoin down so far, this must be the low. She's been the third partner, totally building the firm, who helped interview Palmetto. Oh, says Duncan, who helped interview Palmetto. She initially managed everything from the trade settlements to finance to compliance before recruiting specialists for each functions, freeing the investment team to focus on deals. Now, as managing partner, she has architected Paradigm's high performance culture where radical transparency and daily self reflection are expected from everyone, regardless of the role. Every single person must be in the top 1% of their domain. By mid 2019, with crypto prices beginning to recover, but most investors still wary of the sector, Paradigm went back to the market. Its initial investor base committed an additional 360 million. The timing was characteristic of Wang's approach, raising capital when others were skeptical, from partners who shared their conviction that crypto would fundamentally reshape finance. Though crypto has yet to fulfill its transformative promise, Paradigm's investments have already yielded exceptional returns. According to public filings, its first flagship fund grew from 760 million to 8.3 billion by the end of 24. Speaking with sources close to the company, Paradigm has also returned all of its limited partners' initial capital, paying out more than 1 billion from the fund to date. The long view. In spite of Paradigm's early success, it's hard not to wonder why Huang, someone who for whom money ceased to be a concern long ago, who seemingly had the perfect job at Sequoia, would bother with the wild world of crypto at all. Brian Armstrong pondered a similar question: who leaves a job like that at Sequoia, right? He's a silent killer. Our industry needs more people like him who have high integrity and are in it for the long term and the right reasons. He had such conviction to go off the beaten path. The answer is simple. I suppose I've always had somewhat of a skepticism towards authority. And so, when I see authority exerting itself, it does make me wonder, is this the way we want the world to work? Everyone in the US looks at China and says that looks dystopian. I don't think they fully realize the same thing is happening in the West. Hmm. Everyone in the US looks at China and says that looks dystopian. I don't think they fully realize the same thing is happening in the West. Take the Obama administration's Operation Choke Point, in which the US Department of Justice sought to restrict certain industries' access to banking services. Operation Choke Point 1.0, which lasted from 2013 to 2017, targeted industries deemed high risk, like payday lenders and firearms dealers. Under the Biden administration, Operation Choke Point 2.0 focused on debanking crypto. Even individuals like Uniswap founder Hayden Adams and Gemini co-founder Tyler Winklevoss found their personal bank accounts suddenly closed without explanation. Huang sees crypto evolving in three critical stages: first as money, then as a financial system, and finally as an internet platform. Each phase builds upon and enables the next. Money is upstream of a lot of the rest of crypto. Buying your first Bitcoin or setting up your first wallet is often the first step towards using other crypto applications. It's like getting your AOL account and connecting to the internet for the first time. The money stage has already produced staggering results. Bitcoin has grown from a white paper in 2008 to an asset worth nearly $2 trillion today, making it the most valuable startup created since it was published. Remarkably, nation states, even the US, are beginning to adopt it. Institutions that scoffed at the industry in 2018, like BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, who called Bitcoin an index of money laundering, now embrace the technology. In 24, BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF gathered 50 billion in just 11 months, the fastest growing ETF launch in history. Traditional portfolio models are also shifting, with Fidelity now recommending 1 to 3% crypto exposure. The classic 60/40 portfolio is becoming 59/39 too, as institutions carve out dedicated allocations to crypto assets. The second stage, building an entirely new financial system is accelerating. While traditional finance, wow, 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 this is beautiful. This is beautiful. This makes so much sense. Like a truly, a deeply crypto native investment firm that crypto companies are looking for. While traditional finance operates through layers of intermediaries, crypto can enable near instant transactions, 24/7 markets, and novel financial instruments all built on permissionless rails. The rise of stablecoins, blockchain based digital currencies pegged to stable assets like US dollars, demonstrates this potential, growing from 500 million to over 200 billion in circulation since Paradigm's founding. Near instant transactions, 24/7 markets, and novel financial instruments, all built on permissionless rails. The third stage, as an internet platform, remains the most nascent and least legible. Unlike today's internet, where platforms control user data and online assets, crypto could enable true digital ownership and direct user to user interactions without intermediaries. High transaction costs have held back everyday applications like social media and gaming, but Huang sees this changing as new scaling technologies drive costs down dramatically. The same infrastructure that today supports NFTs and meme coins will eventually enable more serious applications, much like YouTube evolved from cat videos to become one of the world's most important platforms. Of course, like every new technology, crypto also has a dark side. Scams and hacks are common. Meme coins promote short term thinking over building what's truly needed. Token prices are volatile, projects implode, and the whole thing often looks more like a casino than the future of finance. Yet Wang takes the long view, like the early internet, attracting brilliant researchers alongside scammers and fraudsters. Crypto's open frontier enables both innovation and bad behavior. Each new wave, including speculative bubbles that can look irrational from the outside, brings in fresh talent and capital to build critical infrastructure. Stablecoins are a perfect example. The 2017 ICO bubble brought mainstream attention to crypto and minted new generation of crypto-rich investors. Some of that capital flowed into developing stablecoins, leading to dramatic improvements in their infrastructure. On Ethereum, the cost to send USDC has fallen from $12 in 21 to $1 today. On Coinbase's popular Layer 2 network base, the same transaction costs less than a cent. In turn, circulation has grown exponentially, up to 400 fold since the bubble popped, and the real world use case have emerged. SpaceX uses stablecoins to repatriate revenue from emerging markets, converting local currencies to digital dollars that transfer instantly. Scale AI pays its global network of data labelers through stablecoin rails, eliminating cross-border friction and cost. Corporate treasury teams and companies like Ramp have found another advantage. While savings accounts pay a fraction of a percent interest, stablecoins backed by treasury bills can capture most of that yield that banks typically keep for themselves. Hmm, interesting. The numbers confirm the narrative. Transaction volumes have grown 120% annually for 5 straight years. In 24, stablecoins processed 5.6 trillion in payments, nearly half of Visa's 13.2 trillion. This momentum led Stripe to acquire Bridge. 24, stablecoins processed 5.6 trillion in payments, nearly half of Visa's 13.2 trillion. This momentum led Stripe to acquire Bridge, a stablecoin payments platform. Stablecoins are room temperature superconductors for financial services. Room temperature superconductors, I'm guessing that's like nuclear fission, wrote Stripe co founder. Thanks to stablecoins, business around the world will benefit from significant speed, coverage, and cost improvements in the coming years. Matt's disposition is distinctive. He's calm, rigorous, and patient, uniquely well suited traits to any complicated technology whose consequences backweighted like crypto. Whose consequences backweighted like crypto. This adoption mirrors crypto's broader evolution. Bitcoin launched in 2009, reaching its first million users in 2011. Ethereum followed in 2015, hitting the same milestone in 2017. Then came stablecoins in 2019, DeFi in 2021, NFTs in 22, and social applications in 23. Detractors often highlight the lack of impact crypto has had on day to day business. Huang believes stablecoins are the next killer app, but also distinguishes between single player technologies like AI that provide immediate utility and multiplayer technologies like crypto that require coordinated adoption. It's like adopting a new language or settling a new city. It's useless if you do it alone. Hmm. That require coordinated adoption. It's like adopting a new language or settling a new city. It's useless if you do it alone. He points to email as an instructive parallel. Early critics called it technologically intriguing but economically naive. Technologically intriguing but economically naive. When speaking with Huang, it's notable how poised he's on crypto as a whole. Patrick Collison, who added Huang to Stripe's board for his crypto expertise and his broader business acumen, Ma's disposition is distinctive. He's calm, rigorous, and patient, uniquely well suited traits to any complicated technology whose consequences backweighted. What sets him apart is his ability to hold both sides of the investment thesis. He can handle bear cases which are typically much more specific than the bull case. He can handle bear cases which are typically much more specific than the bull case. And then he understands the possibilities of technology to see how small nascent things can become a very big deal in the future. Recently, artificial intelligence has emerged as tech's new frontier with clear and immediate applications that have captured the world's imagination. Fong and his team at Paradigm even considered expanding their focus to include AI, but they have maintained their commitment to cryptocurrency. With Wang explaining, AI is going to be fine with or without us. Crypto is a very important technology that needs to coexist with AI, but there aren't a lot of great champions. We believe it's important for us to work on it to make sure that it actually succeeds. AI is going to be fine with or without us. Crypto is a very important technology that needs to coexist with AI, but there aren't a lot of great champions. We believe it's important for us to work on it to make sure that it actually succeeds. Invention. Noyce and Robinson. These are all extremely young people. Wow. Down years are easier than up years. Signal to noise is very high, and okay, prices are down, but with a long term perspective, that doesn't bother us. Writing the future. Things people tell you are hard usually aren't. They are only hard because you don't have agency over your tools. Oh, wow. Crypto, crypto, crypto. Wow. This is really cool. Okay. We just hit 1 hour. Okay, let's keep going. Maybe let's go to writing the future. That seems like cool. A miniature electric guitar rests behind George's desk, occasionally deployed during impromptu meetings. The image of the firm's CTO breaking into refs when discussing blockchain architecture captures something essential about his approach: technical virtuosity combined with an intuitive feel for what works. In 2019, Constantopoulos was a sought after researcher and software engineer known in crypto circles for his development skills. His technical work was so thorough that Paradigm's portfolio companies kept mentioning his name. When Wang first met him at a conference, he was weighing whether to expand his consulting practice or join a startup. But Wang, with his characteristic ability to spot unconventional talent, saw a different path. He proposed creating a role similar to Robinson's where he could combine technical research with investment evaluation. The role evolved in unexpected ways. In 2020, while helping portfolio company Optimism implement its research, he noticed how many projects struggle with the same fundamental problems. The challenges weren't in the ideas, but in the tools needed to build them. Rather than support companies one at a time, he wondered if he could build open source infrastructure that would advance the entire industry. That philosophy led to Foundry, His first major contribution: spent a weekend building a tool that made writing secure smart contracts dramatically simple. Think of it like spell check for blockchain code. Except instead of catching typos, it prevents multi-million dollar bugs. Within months, it had become the industry standard and now has 90% market penetration and over $100 billion in smart contracts secured so far. But Foundry's success highlighted a deeper challenge. Ethereum, the platform powering most of crypto's innovation, ran on inefficient software that made scaling impossible. It was like trying to stream 4K video over a dial up connection. He proposed an audacious solution: rebuilding Ethereum's core node software from scratch. You're crazy. This will take 5 years. Had earned their trust, and he understood the capabilities better than anyone through his unique hiring approach. Rather than traditional interviews, he found his engineers through their contributions to open source projects. The code doesn't lie. I want to see how people think through real problems. Reth took just 18 months to complete. While its function seems simple, downloading transactions, executing them locally, and writing them to a database, its impact has been profound. By optimizing this fundamental process, Reth runs 80% smaller and 10 times faster than alternatives. Major platforms like Coinbase's Base, WorldCoin, and Optimism, last valued 1.65 billion 22, already rely on its superior performance. It launched in June 24. These technical contributions create a virtuous cycle. Paradigm's researchers identify problems while evaluating investments. They build open source solutions that become industry standards. These tools attract the best developers who either join portfolio companies or become founders themselves, or in some instances, join Paradigm. The strategy culminated last October in Ithaca, spun out from Paradigm with a $20 million investment. As CEO, while maintaining his Paradigm CTO role, Constantopoulos aims to commercialize what his team has built. What other teams need 20 to 30 engineers seed funding and 2 years for, we can do in weeks. His confidence comes from having built every layer of the stack, from low-level cryptography to user interfaces with Reth and Foundry in between. Things people tell you are hard usually aren't. They're only hard because you don't have agency over your tools. This philosophy of radical self-reliance, building whatever tools the industry needs, has transformed Paradigm's role in crypto. Building whatever tools the industry needs has transformed Paradigm's role in crypto. As for his own transformation, he describes it in characteristically Greek terms. Matt is the only mentor I haven't been able to eclipse. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wow. Matt is the only mentor I haven't been able to eclipse. Wow. Wow. Most mentors are eventually outgrown, but Wang Constantopoulos found a leader who evolves alongside his team. While most engineers of his caliber would have left to start their own companies, he and others stay at Paradigm because Wang keeps growing with them. They push me to be a better version of myself every day. I don't want to be eclipsed. I don't want to be eclipsed. On the back of Wang's MacBook, a telling detail appears. 3 stickers form a perfectly aligned row with the logos of Foundry and Reth flanking Paradigm's mark. Is both a reflection of his careful attention to detail and a window into his evolving vision for venture capital. What if Sequoia had not just backed Google, but had founded Google? He increasingly wonders. The question points to a future where the line between investor and builder blurs. In Constantopoulos' journey from a gaming addict to architect of crypto's core infrastructure is a fulfillment of Wang and Ersim's original thesis that crypto required a different kind of investor, not just brilliant misfits who could evaluate technology, but builders whose code could shape the future of finance. In an industry inherently hostile to central authority, Paradigm has become one of crypto's most trusted institutions by focusing on creation rather than control. Wang and his team aren't just investing in the future line by line, they are writing it. Beautiful, 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 beautiful.